Hello and welcome to episode 11 of Hull Seahawks Behind the Curtain. And we've got another special episode for you this week. We're joined not only by Matty Davies, we've also got Owen Bruton joining us. Thanks very much, fellas, for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Of
Cheers,
course,
lads.
we're going to get straight underway with this one. So, Owen, let's start off where it all started for you with ice hockey. About how did you get into the game? First time down at the rink and then sort of falling in love with the sport.
I think my first game I went to watch, I think I was 1 month old. I think I went to watch the Seahawks with my mum and dad. Not Seahawks, sorry, the Stingrays.
So he's done well and travelled in time.
He's young, but he's not that young, is he?
Went to watch the Stingrays and then just carried on watching it. Like my dad had watched the Seahawks when he was younger, from like I can't even remember when, and then just carried on watching the Stingrays throughout. And then I think I got to about 3 and I started learning how to skate and just like looking at all the players and going like, that's what I want to do. I think I started Sunday mornings just as I turned 4 with Jonker. I remember like you weren't even allowed to play in the junior club until you could skate backwards. Like you had to be a proper good skater to even like be able to play in the juniors. So I can't really remember how long I was in the Sunday morning. And then obviously when I joined the juniors, it became Stingrays. It was like the whole Stingrays like affiliation kind of thing. And then I think it changed from about, I'd say like I was like 8 years old, we became the Sharks. And then just like that's when everything happened, when the Stingrays stopped and stuff. But carried on watching like the Pirates when they became a thing. I think I was watching them every single weekend. I think my grandma and granddad were season ticket holders. So like they got me in every week. And then just as I've got older, slowly started to want to do this more, want to make this a thing for life, and just got involved, started watching NHL and just became obsessed with it really.
I was just going to ask that actually. Is there a moment that you can remember where it went from being, that's something I want to do, I enjoy playing hockey too, that's what my career is going to be?
I think, to be honest, it was from when I was around like 11, 12, even maybe 10. I played football as well. And like I was kind of like sport mad. I did absolutely every sport I could. But like I realized my best sport was ice hockey. And I thought, I've watched this my whole life. I've played it my whole life. And this is what I want to do now.
And of course, going quite quickly through the ranks, under 16s, under 18s last year. And then, of course, the bit of a whirlwind that was 2022. So going into 2022, sort of that early summer, maybe sort of late spring, where were you thinking you were going to play? Sort of obviously before the Seahawks came into effect as such.
To be honest, it was just going to be under 18s and then playing Jets. Just like seeing the starter taste of hockey. Obviously, like the year before, Jets was like the main team in Hull, so that was like the only really close place I could play. But like it was a great opportunity for the steps in, like looking at Declan and Alex and like Adam Gisecco, they played like the Jets in their first senior year. And like that was like a big starter pack for them. So that's what I thought I was going to be doing, and just had my headset focused on that really.
Of course, Matt, I'm going to throw this one over to yourself. Of course, when you were putting together that team for last year, and of course, it was pretty late on, sort of for building a team, wasn't it? Most teams had already signed most of their roster before we were part of the league. So you've got to have a pretty good grasp of sort of who's available, both nationally but also locally. Of course, you were still as a player at the time as well. Sort of, how much do you know about Owen? How much had you seen of him coming through, and sort of what was it that sort of made you go, we've got to get this lad on the roster?
I mean, obviously, once I knew I was coming back and doing it, I just started off, just speaking to people, and sort of getting an idea of the junior club and sort of, what's going on with it and who's sort of coming through and bits and bobs like that. I remember I popped down to a 18s game, and watched sort of most of that and just saw, who was playing and then sort of who I liked out there, and saw Alex and Deck and a couple of others. And I mean, I knew about Brutes, but honestly, it was probably like off my radar a little bit, with the fact that I was just.
He must have been 15 at the time.
He was 15, and I knew he was turning 16 in August. And look, I'll be honest, I didn't pin sort of thinking that, yeah, we're going to have that kid this year. It was more thinking for this year coming. I'd heard about him. I knew everyone sort of has said, this kid's the best player at the club and this kid's going somewhere and he's going places with England, etc. And then it wasn't till we had a trial last summer. I just sort of put this sort of trial together. It was sort of a bit of a slapdash thing, and we put it out there and just tried to get as many people to it as possible. And I can't remember how many turned up. There was a few there, weren't there? Decent numbers, and yeah, I mean, he was the best player on the ice. I remember watching it thinking, like, I don't really want any of these lot. I just want him. And he wasn't even 16 at the time. I remember Bobby Chamberlain, he was there actually. And he just looked at me and went, he's the only one. He's the only one out there that's any good, isn't he? I mean, Bobby's a bit harsh like that, but it was literally like that. And I think it was a bit of from that moment, I sort of just was like, right, that kid, I'm going to keep my eye on that kid. And as soon as that happened, I think I spoke to his dad or his mum at that point and said, look, we'd all like to come and train with us. And I think at that point it was just that. I knew he was still with the 18s. He wanted to finish off playing the juniors. I totally get that. You've got to finish sort of I mean, that was still 16s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He wanted to finish his. I mean, that's mental to say, but when I think about it, I was in the same boat as Owen. I didn't finish my junior career. I suppose you just sort of get to a point where you just got to take the leap. But things are different now, obviously. But I think at that point I said to them, look, can Owen come down and train with us? I knew he was sort of with the Jets as well, and they'd sort of wanted him to play up with them a little bit, and I respected that, obviously. But I think as sort of time went on, I think we probably saw from Owen that it was this kid was going to be a little bit more than just training and sort of on the radar, I suppose. So yeah, I think from sort of seeing him the first time at the trial, it was like, yeah, I knew straight away that we had sort of a kid that was going to end up playing for us.
Okay. I mean, coming back to yourself then, so when you got on the ice with the Seahawks, of course, you were also probably training with the Jets at a similar time, looking ahead to September and who you're going to be playing with. What were your sort of first moments on the ice with senior players, thinking how different did you feel it was? The pace, the physicality, how quickly did you think you took to get used to that?
I think it was like I was training with the Jets now and then when I was 15, so when I was younger. So I was already used to that physicality side, and I've always been like playing up an age group like my whole life. So like I think the physicality side of it, I got used to a little bit. I think in games, like actually being physical, it took me a little bit more time. But I think the speed of it, especially at the Seahawks level, that was when I was like I really need to start working hard in the gym and like working hard on the ice every training session, because you're a young kid and like you're smaller, your muscles, everything out like is like grown and built. Like you have to work extra hard to like keep up with everybody. And I saw that, and like it was a challenge I wanted though. I think that was the challenge I needed, and that's what I got.
Of course, they are just so explosive, aren't they, when you got some of these players in and around the NHL National Division. Let's come on to sort of your first games with the Seahawks then. Of course, when you're on the ice and you're at that National Division level, of course, you move very quickly, obviously, getting more and more minutes, particularly early on, due to injuries, the visa issues, the suspensions. So were you enjoying that sort of aspect of it? Would you have wanted to maybe be blooded in a bit more, or did you enjoy that feeling of being sort of thrown in at the deep end?
To be honest, I enjoyed it because I don't think I would have ever got that opportunity this season if that didn't happen. Like for the team, it was like a nightmare, and like we weren't winning, and it was just a nightmare for everybody. But like for me personally, I was getting the ice time, and it was like a chance to show everyone what I can do really, which was quite cool. But it was quite surreal, like playing my first few games. Like, I remember playing pre-season. I think it's Steel Dogs. I got like an assist in my second game or something like that. But just like playing in front of everybody, playing in front of my family, like that's been a big thing. Like, because they've obviously watched every main team in Hull for like forever. Like, that was just a big thing for me, playing in front of them, and just it gave me a little bit of a boost really to like play even harder.
And of course, Matty, when you're putting Owen on there for, let's be honest, it weren't small amounts of minutes in those first few months. Sort of, what were you thinking watching? Sort of, as Owen sort of grew in confidence, and also necessarily the ability. Of course, he just seemed to grow throughout the season, didn't he? And developed really, really quickly.
Yeah, I think in a way, when I think back to it at that time, I suppose in a way, if I was probably a different person, I think Owen probably would have maybe not got as much time out there. And I think there was definitely people that I know maybe probably didn't think I was doing the right thing at times, and maybe pushing Owen a little bit too quickly. There was a lot of chatter around about that, and sort of constantly trying to, I don't know, I always felt like I was trying to sort of justify the fact that Owen, I think, is sort of at the level already. And honestly, I think the main thing is it's just down to past experience. It's just experience from myself. I would have never known, if I was just someone that, had never played and stuff, then you look at a 16-year-old and you go, he is a 16-year-old kid and they're men. That doesn't fit. But I've been like, and this is what I kept saying to his mum and dad. And that's why, I'm speaking for them, but I hope they trust me in that way, because I constantly kept saying to them that, I would never do. Now I have kids as well. I totally get it. Like, you don't want to push your kid into something where you think they're going to get hurt or something like that. And, in a way, I felt completely responsible for Owen in a way, because it was literally only me that was pushing this whole Owen getting pushed into this. It was me that wanted him, and me that kept saying, you're going. And at the end of the day, all I can say is it was just completely down to me knowing that, where I'd been, what I was sort of around that time. Look, when I was 16, I was smaller than Owen, and I was, playing at a time when it was a lot more physical and a lot more brutal. There was definitely no bans back then. There was no 13-game bans for anything. It was basically prison rules, and you could literally, there's been times, I've had my head took off many times, especially back in the EPL days. It was brutal. But the thing is, and what really made me realise that Owen, he could do this, and I knew he could do this, and there was just a couple of moments in the season, and there was times when early on we was really struggling at, honestly, and this is funny, but we literally were struggling getting the puck out of our own end. I mean, Owen will know this, but we had several conversations about literally getting the puck out of our own end. That was honestly where we was. That was our level. And look, it was difficult, and there was a lot of times when I was sucking eggs, because instead of trying to win a game, I was almost trying to get these lads to just try and stay in games and try and literally just get pucks out of our own end. And honestly, the biggest thing for me, I saw Owen, Owen was probably one of the best on the wall, and he just completely took to it. There was no time ever in any game where I felt like Owen was in a vulnerable position or potentially would have got hurt. If he was, and there was people, that was going to do that, or Owen was putting himself in positions to get hurt potentially, then, maybe I would have took him out of that firing line. But Owen is a kid that's got a brain way above his years, and he's got that intuition to see things before they're happening. He knows what's coming. He has a look. He's got a frame that's fixed set as well, similar to me, where he has, his big legs. He can get them out. He knows that when people are coming, he can ride the body right. These little parts of the game that I just know that he had. And this is why I fought so hard to say to certain people that, Owen should never drop down the level ever again. Owen is this level and he should never, ever play below this level. And I knew that because, again, I say it, I've done the same thing. If someone took me away from the EPL at the time that I played when I was 16 and brought me back down to a level below, it would have been horrendous. Like, there would have been no use in that. And I think what's happened now is because, of sort of how the world is now. And I guess how, we worry about pushing kids too quickly or too far. And there's reasons for that, obviously. And I know that, there's things that you do need to be careful of. But, look, again, when someone's ready to play at the level, taking them back down to a level below just does them no good, in my opinion. Look, he's got to learn the game at this level. He's got to learn the speed. He's got to learn how things work. And he's done that. He's done his apprenticeship. He's done it. He's had a year in at probably one of the hardest times you could play when a team's under it. You're playing a lot of defence. You're playing in your own end. You're playing on walls a lot. And honestly, I can't speak highly enough of him and the other kids. They all came out of this year like in a way better place. Going through the things that they went through. And for me, it's the best way to learn. You've got to throw kids into fire sometimes because, if they come out, you know what you've got. And if they don't, then look, you know what you've got as well. And with Owen, it's, I think for me, I've got a special kid, but I also think I'm doing a lot for Owen because I think that, again, I see myself in Owen a little bit. If I don't do it, then no one else will give him that chance to really put himself on a platform. And yeah, I probably do, put him in more of a position than some other people would, but I just think he's ready. And I think, I want to make him, as good of a player as I think he can be. And I had coaches that did that for me. So, you have to have these little breaks in life and people that believe in you because, if you don't have that, then, it's difficult to make that jump. So,
no, fully understand. And of course, I'm going to bring this one back to you, Owen. Now, listening to what Matty's just said and being, I believe, as far as is announced, the only player on a 2-year contract with the club as well, that's got to be a huge vote of confidence that, Matty and everyone else involved with the club sees you as such an important part of what's being built here.
Yeah, I think it was like this season was like obviously like as Matty said, like an apprenticeship season, and like signing this 2-year deal now, I think this is the time to push on though. Like last season's happened, now it's done. I feel like I improved so much, but like now this season and next season, I want to carry on getting better and better and like to show everyone that last season wasn't just a fluke and like that I can play at this level. I think that's something that I'm definitely like willing to focus on, and like I want to help this team out as much as I can and not just be like, oh, the kid who's on a 2-year deal. Like I want to actually help out this team and contribute whenever I can.
Certainly, son. With the numbers last year, 11 points on the 48 games, from someone so young, first year at senior level, that's in and around the point scoring of the pretty much the rest of the other forwards that weren't playing first line minutes, really. Pretty similar to numbers we look at guys like Paul and Fish and Arch, they're all only in that low team. So, certainly it's a fantastic performance for year one, and, year two, we know you're only going to push for more. Moving away just from the Seahawks for a moment, want to talk sort of the GB under-18s, of course. You had a trip with them away at the end of the season as well. Got 2 points in those 5 games, and what was a pretty good trip away for that side.
Yeah, I think I definitely played more of a defensive forward role when I was out there. Like my 2 line mates, obviously, I played with Finn Braden, who's at Leeds, and Seb he plays for Slough, I think. Like we had them 2 like to go forward. They like to score goals, and like I saw myself as helping them out as best as I could. I played penalty kill minutes, power play minutes. Like I think I was like stood in front of the net on the power play. Like I just wanted to do anything I could to help the team. I think playing in a tournament for your country, like you never understand how big it is until you actually get there. But honestly, it was one of the best experiences in my life, and like just want to hopefully make the team this year again, and then push on for a gold medal this season, because I think we can definitely do it.
Of course, it was a bronze last year in what was a pretty difficult, group, wasn't it? Of course, we know what teams, like from Lithuania, Serbia, Croatia, that with those sorts of regions are live and breathe hockey, don't they? So they're always going to have, great sides at a younger level, and to see, the GB side getting a medal, and as you say, wanting to push for gold next time, certainly sort of what we want to be looking ahead for with, the younger GB sides. Just come back to the Seahawks now, and of course, I know you don't have too much longer with us tonight, Owen, unfortunately, but I've got a few little questions that we want to ask about your first season with the Seahawks, ones that people will be interested to hear. First one is, who was the toughest player you played against last season?
Well, that's tough. I think Grant Cooper was definitely up there when he was at Leeds. He was pretty tough to play against. And then obviously you've got like the D-men like Sapluzi from Swindon. Like, they're just big, horrible guys who like to play the body, and they don't care how old you are. And I think them type of players were definitely tough players to go against.
But of course, though, you've got to think, if you're, obviously riding the hits, from those sort of players, it's toughening you up. It's showing that you are, more than capable at this level, isn't it? Next one would be favourite moment of last season.
I think it was definitely the time in Bristol. I think I scored with like 2 minutes left, and that was our first point and win. I think it was the win of the year. I think it was 2-1 down, and I tipped him with like 2 minutes left. I think that was definitely a big moment. It was like getting booed at the crowd, but I was buzzing inside. My head. It was like fireworks.
I remember I was watching that one on the stream from home. I was travelling down to London the next morning. But no, I remember watching it literally running around the living room. Sort of, I was sat watching with two relatively newbies, the National Division ice hockey as well, and they were well into it. So I agree with that one. Next one would be
the best win of the season. That was the best win of the season. Even all the ones later on, just like that win was mad, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
We literally had no one. Like, we went
11 guys on it.
We went down there, and it was, I was stood there in the team talk, and it was just like, right, lads, let's just have a go. But honestly, I honestly knew we could beat them. Like, if we did the right things, and yeah, he's right. Like, that game, and he played class all game, and when you come home, when you come on the bus like that, when you've won with no players, that's the best feeling for the lads. When you go somewhere like that, so far away, and yeah, it was a class night. That
was that the Bristol game where you had the big party fancy bus as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, it was good.
Next one would be from, of course, the roster from last year. What was the best bit of advice you were given as someone new to senior hockey from another member of the Seahawks roster?
I'd say Sam Towner said to me, he was like I've got the ability, and I just need to not worry about what I'm doing. He said he knows I've got the ability to do it, so just head down and just do it. Don't think about it. You'll make mistakes along the way, but you've just got to focus on the now and do your absolute best.
Next one would be any goals for this season in particular. Of course, you're still so young. We could go on and talk about goals for your career for ages, but just limiting it to this season only. Is there anything you want to set as a goal?
Two things really. I want to help the team win a trophy, definitely, and also three things actually. Sort my plus minus out, get that higher as well. But also get more points as well, definitely. I feel like I can definitely push 20 or more if keep my head straight and just put 110% in every game.
No, absolutely brilliant. Of course, Owen, I know you're very busy this evening. You've got some work to go back and head off to, but got to say thanks very much for joining us on Behind the Curtain, and hopefully get to speak to you another point during the season.
Yeah, thanks very much, mate.
He's off. He's going to do some more graft in the graft house, isn't he?
Yeah, he's grafting, mate. He's got work to do. Them 20 points won't come easy, will they?
But we are just going to obviously bring it back to latest news of Behind the Curtain. Of course, we get some great guests on every week, but something we've not done for a bit of a while is talk about the latest news in the Seahawks. And the biggest bit of news this week, other than the signing of Brock Bartholomew, which we covered at length on episode 10, has got to be that Balmer and Bobby Chamberlain have signed on 2 years with the Manchester Storm in the Elite League. And I understand, of course, it's a Seahawks first deal, isn't it? They are Seahawks players, but it is going to be another bit of great experience for them. We know they can both, mix it up at that level. Dex obviously played up there for 2 or 3 years, but in Manchester actually. And of course, Bobby's been on, played a few games in both Manchester and Belfast in the past too, hasn't he?
Yeah, look, I think they're both players that, in my opinion, they could play in the elite league, no problem still, and just the way sort of that league is and this league is, it sort of just doesn't fit for what they want to do in their life currently. They've both got jobs and stuff like that. So, that's just sort of the way that sort of whole, British player sort of elite league thing goes. I guess it's just tough for them players that are sort of getting to late 20s that, they want to make some money, and in life it's tough when you sort of, you're still trying to make it happen in the elite league. So yeah, I think, look, the deal, look, it's there's sort of a little bit of, there's a couple of sort of branches to this, and we've had a good relationship with Manchester sort of for the past year or two since we started this. Having the likes of Finn last year and just speaking to him on a constant basis. We had Jacob Twitch as well, yeah, who is a Blackburn player, but he also was with the Storm, and sort of we spoke with the Storm on that one as well. So yeah, it's just one of them things where, the two lads, they're our players, there's no doubt, and at the end of the day, if they don't play one game this year for Manchester, then that's just the way it goes. This is more about just, sort of, in a sense, getting that relationship sort of, built up even more in terms of, look, we're willing to help you out if they ever get stuck with, touch wood, injuries that, this came last year, they had some bad injuries, and, speaking to Finity, and, if they could have had the chance to bring Deck up on a game where we had one game a weekend, then they might have done that. And the thing is, look, it's also on the boys. If they have knocks, or they're struggling a little bit, or then they won't go, and that's fine as well. This is all on the players, really. If they feel fresh and we don't have a game and they want to go, and then they have my blessing, and they know the score. Look, if they go there and they get injured, it's, what can you do? It's part of the game. I'm taking that risk, of course, letting this deal happen, and but this is ice hockey, and at the end of the day, look, you have to weigh up from everywhere, and to lose two players like that, it's obviously not, but it's not what anyone wants. But at the end of the day, it's again, there's a lot more branches to this deal, and we're going to have sort of, one of our players will be, skating with them during the week, and that's a big sort of deal for them as well. I won't mention what players it is, but sort of that is part of another contract of another player, and these are all things that people don't see, that sort of make up these deals that, sort of happen. We got Finn, and obviously that's a massive deal for us. And yeah, look, to get Finn to sign for us on a full-time deal, you have to make allowances, and you have to be, willing to make deals with people, and at the end of the day, this just, no one loses out on this. It's at the end of it's two players that can play in the elite league, and if they want to play and they want to try and make, let's be honest, make a little bit more money for themselves, but also put their name on the map, then do it. Bobby's never really had a full chance to play at the elite league, and I've always said this, that Bobby Chamberlain should have played in the elite league, because I feel like that's someone that has got more than enough game, but has also got more of enough bite, like we've spoke about, to also play in that league. I know Ryan Finity has a really big opinion on Bobby. He really has always liked Bobby. They've had conversations for a long time now about potentially going there and on full-time deals, or 2 ways, and it's just never really worked out. But look, it's again, this is good for this thing. This is good for us because at the end of the day, what it does is it gives us that, that little bit more reach in terms of we have good relationships with all other teams. It's good. It's good for us. It's good for the Storm. It's good for the Steelers. We have a good relationship with them. Geordie was with them last year. He might still be back with them training this year. We don't know yet. That's still up in the air. But these are all things that I'm willing to make happen because I feel like it's the best. It's the best for the lads themselves. Yeah. And that's what it's all about. I think, there's too many times clubs have stood in the way of players maybe progressing or, getting a chance when they could have had a chance maybe, or, and it comes down to politics and really all the, the stuff that doesn't matter. At the end of the day, like I've said it already, they're our players. They're going to play every game with us. There's no doubt about that. They're going to be with us every night, and that's all that really matters. But alongside that, they've got a chance to go and show what they're about and help out Manchester. And in turn, we get helped out with, letting one of our big players go and practice there, and also the Finn deal. So it's a good deal all around, mate.
Yeah, and so you never know what's going to happen in the future with these sort of things, that I know if you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, and it could help both of us out in the future one day, who knows. And the other bit of news we've not mentioned here on Behind the Curtain happened about a week and a half ago now, actually, and it was Dec Jones on a two-way as well. Of course, he's got a little bit of a mention when we were speaking to Owen earlier as being one of that sort of young forward trio who came up with it along with Alex as well. But good to have Dec back on a two-way.
Yeah, great. I think, look, Dec was, he had a great start to the year. And I almost felt a little bit sorry for Dec in a way, not because, I didn't think that he finished the year well. I just feel like he did a great job for me early on. And when we really needed someone to step in, look, there was nights for 15, 20 games where I was playing two centres with Dec Jones and Sam Towner. That kid was playing nearly 30 minutes a night and not looking out of place and doing a great job. And, I'll never forget that. And these are the little things that, people maybe don't see, but I'll never forget that. So Dec will always get a chance with me. And yeah, the team is a lot better this year and it is going to be a lot more difficult for Dec and Alex to get chances in this team, but they're both willing to put the work in. They both want to be here. They both want to work hard in the gym. They both want to put it in. And that's all I care about. I just want to see lads that want to be there and sort of make themselves better. And they're both like that. They're both great kids. And they're both young still. It's a long time. These lads can, go and play a full year with the Jets, maybe 2 years full with the Jets, and still train with us and still get the odd game, still get minutes with us. And, 2 years' time, they're still going to be 20 years old, 21 years old. Look, these kids are young. There's a massive, massive future for these boys. And I think, it's great for us. It's great for us. The whole thing with the Jets is good. Because, them stepping up, it allows me to do this. It allows me to still have Dec and Alex, but also give them minutes in games that they need. And, we couldn't do that last year with the Jets just being, in that Division 2 is just, the jump is too big. And, the crossover between the two leagues is too big, and it just doesn't make sense. And that's why we had the affiliation with Blackburn. But yeah, would I rather have an affiliation with the Jets? 100%. Of course I would. I want to keep everything in Hull if I can. That's what I'm about. Everyone knows that. And yeah, this is better. It's good that the Jets are up there, and we can help them with giving them players like this, and they're going to be a better team for it. And them stepping up helps us by allowing us to do that and still keep Alex and Dec on our roster, and it's great for everyone.
No, certainly so. Of course, I've had countless chats with yourselves, regarding players, well, Declan, Alex, and Owen last year, and I've also been speaking with Mike, Roddy, and Andy Daintiff, of the whole Jets, and they're really, really looking forward to it, in exactly the same way you are. It just creates that pathway in Hull, doesn't it? Where you go from the 18s, they've then got the Sharks in Div 2 now. Yep. Jets in Div 1, and then there's the Seahawks in the National. You've got that pathway as a young hockey player in Hull where you can, get the minutes as and when you need them in the right place.
Of course, mate, yeah. And that's always been sort of my goal with this. And I think, I look at it as a top-down thing, and I think the better we are as a club and the better, organisation we are, the better we are on the ice, it makes everything else trickle down. The trickle down makes everything else better. The better players we have for the Seahawks makes, me be able to do this and send Dec and Alex, to the Jets, and sort of, other players that we might sign on 2 ways, the Jets might sign, we might get a chance to take them, or, some players that I have, and, they might get a chance with them as well. And look, I think for me, it's trying to create that full relationship. And, we have a good one with the Jets. We have a good one with the Sharks. It's only going to get better. I've said from day one, me and Andy have a good relationship. He's coached me when I was a kid. We know each other really well. And, we want nothing but the best for the kids in Hull. And that's the way it should be. And like I say, this year we're doing a lot more with the junior club. We're actually offering free entry for the kids. All kids that play for the Sharks are all going to get free entry to the games. I've just announced that now, but that'll be announced again later on as well. But yeah, so these are the sort of things that we want to do, and we want to sort of make. We want to make, you just aired it there with Owen. Without Owen watching the Stingrays, would Owen even be here right now? It's just simple. Me going to watch the Hawks, I watched the Kingston Hawks. I remember watching Kelly Reid. I never forget watching Kelly Reid, because he was a left-handed D-man that skated all over the ice, and he was fast and skillful. And if I didn't see him play, if I didn't see Jonathan Weaver play in Hull, I don't know if I would have wanted to play. So it's all, people talk about, is it good to have, there was a lot of chatter about us coming back, and was it good for Hull? Was it good for the Jets? If you don't see that us having a proper high-end team in this city, then I don't believe ice hockey very well, because the better we are makes everything else better. There's going to be kids that want to come and try ice hockey. There's going to be kids that want to be better at ice hockey that are playing for your under 16s, under 18s. There's going to be players that, like I've just said, can't quite make our level, that will play for the Jets, can't quite make the Jets, will play for Div 2. It's better for everybody. The more people we have watching our games makes the whole thing more apparent that there's ice hockey in Hull.
Yeah, we've just got that opportunity now, better than it has been for a long time, to showcase the sport in the city.
Of course, mate. Yeah, and look, it's the busier that the Seahawks games are, the more recognition the game gets in Hull, the more we get eyeballs on the Seahawks. And people see it as, the Jets need that the Sharks need it as well. I agree that they do, but it's paramount. It's paramount that the eyeballs are on the Seahawks, in my opinion, because again, we have to show what we have to offer, the best product that we have to offer in Hull. And if people have not seen the game before, in my opinion, it should be the Seahawks that they see first, because that's the best product that we have in Hull. So surely, if they come and watch the Seahawks, and maybe there's a kid there that wants to maybe start playing, coming to watch that with a rink that's got 1,200 people in, rammed, playing a game against the Leeds Knights, we're winning a game, it goes to overtime. They're the games that you remember. They're the games that you come back and watch. So, and they're the games that want to get you into the sport itself. So, look, it's very important that the Seahawks have got a massive following and a big But also a massive relationship through the junior club and upwards, and that's important too. So everything fits, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create this relationship for everyone so that everything is made better. So yeah, it's great. It's great that Owen, has got the attitude that he has, because it just shows for a kid of his age to, be able to come in here and have a chat with us and talk about sort of where he is as a player and what he wants to do. It's a testament really it's testament to the junior club. I'll just say this, what a job they've done with him, Andy, and and everyone else that coaches at the club there. Have brought the kid through, and they deserve a lot of respect and credit due where it's due, because they've coached that kid to where he is now, and it's great to see there's more kids coming through as well. So
certainly is, of course. When you cast your eye across the ice hockey hull, it's a great thing to watch right now, sort of the level that some of these kids are coming through at, and the pathway is there. So it's only going to get better at ice hockey and Hull, for the Seahawks, and not just the Seahawks, but for the Jets, the Sharks, and the Div 2 Sharks and the junior club. It's sort of a new golden age. We sort of hope, that's what we've got to hope and work together to build, I suppose, over the next few years. And it looks like, from what we can see, everyone's heads and hearts are in the right places, which is exactly what ice hockey needs at the moment. Got to say, thanks very much, Matt. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. Episode 11 in the books, and episode 12. Very, very excited for this one. It's going to be a big release next week.
Yeah, massive, mate. I think this one, it's one I've been looking forward to for a long time. And these are sort of the people that made me sort of, me and you want to start this whole thing, and, talking about it when we was for a long time, sort of through the season. A lot of it was about learning the players and sort of getting to know the players, but it was also about this and sort of getting people on like this that, really, I think it's gonna make a lot of noise, and I hope it does, because it deserves to. A lot of people want to listen to this. I can't wait to speak to him, and I'm sure you can't, mate. It's gonna be a great one.
It certainly is. Fans, new and old, I think will enjoy this one. Coming to you later, next week, very early next week. We've got to say thanks very much to everybody for listening to episode 11 of Hull Seahawks Behind the Curtain. We've had the wonderful Owen Bruton on. I've got to say thanks to Matty Davies, and I've been Connor Lynn, your host for this for today. Make sure that you like, follow, subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts from, whether that be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or if you enjoy watching the videos on YouTube as well. You get to see mine and Matty's beautiful faces through that medium. But make sure you stay tuned for episode 12, because it's going to be a big one.